Welcome back to Unmute Yourself. I'm your host, Jennifer Carter. This podcast is about lifting the curtain on leadership, purpose, and the real stories behind women who dared to do things differently. We'll talk about how they found their path, the struggles along the way, and how they built something that truly matters. Now, these are normal people doing extraordinary things because I want you to know you are extraordinary too. My guest today is somebody very near and dear to my heart. So please welcome Lisa W. Lee. Lisa is a wellness entrepreneur, energy therapist, and Reiki master. Can I say this correctly? Yes. Whose life's work is all about helping people move stagnant energy, release old patterns, and create space for healing and possibility. Lisa's story is a beautiful example of transformation. She began her career in corporate retail, rising quickly through the executive training program at Macy's and May department stores, and earning Buyer of the Year in 1988. But life had a different plan. After becoming a mother and walking through her own health and healing journey, Lisa shifted her focus from commerce to consciousness. And over the past 2 decades, she's built an international wellness practice, mentoring new energy therapists, teaching Reiki, and guiding clients toward wholeness through her signature energy healing approach. She is also an author, community builder, and lifelong learner dedicated to helping others reconnect with their innate ability to heal. Lisa, welcome to Unmute Yourself. I'm so honored to have you here for our conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay. Y'all, I have known Lisa for, I think it's been 11, 12 years, something like that. And this is just a hoot for me to be on the other side of the microphone or the table for once. So I know that you started in a fast-paced corporate career. And then, it led you to make this profound shift into the world of energy work and holistic healing. So what was the impetus or the trigger for that?
Well, I think I took 10 years off to raise my children. And in that time, they had ear infections all the time. like, and so I just started along this path of wellness, um, emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually, to help them kind of get through those years of being sick and ear infections and surgeries. And, um, and on top of that, I had a miscarriage and it, kind of broke me open in a way that, everything I climbed the corporate ladder and I had, 2 beautiful sons and, like everything was working in my life. And then I had a miscarriage and it wasn't working. And I blamed myself and I was really curious about why did this happen? And the grief was really overwhelming. And inside of that, I started to help my body be healthier and help my kids be healthier. And I went on to have a daughter, um, and her name is Faith, because it really did take faith to kind of push through the fear of, what's going to happen or what might happen and will that happen again. Um, And and when she was little, she was probably only 2, she went to a daycare, mommy's day, 1 day a week. And this woman said, "Oh, I'm gonna have this Reiki master come to my house." And and so I was like, "Okay, I'll come." And and then we got attuned into Reiki, which is a very simple, hands-on healing type of modality that's, you get an attunement. Um, and it's Japanese for ray of light. And,
I didn't know
so
that.
I signed up. I signed up. And we had this class and I got this attunement and, everything started to, like, turn on. Like, I could see things and hear things and intuit things and spiritually, I just was kind of blown away by the experience of being attuned. And so then I went ahead and got my master attunement and I started attuning people and I started doing sessions with people, kind of hands on. Um, it really, energy is inside of us. And from that, I just kept going. Every book I could read, every um, opportunity to try to understand why and the complexity of who we are. And then neuroscience started to really unfold, and the MRI became something that was, well researched, and they could tell what the brain was doing. So I really aligned with that our brain is our biggest hope, and at time our thoughts are our most challenging thing to navigate in life. So as I help my clients, physically with the hands-on healing, there was always the coaching that I did along the way. To really be with them, I think that my capacity empathetically, I, my body aligns with other people's bodies, and their energy field. And it's a phenomenal experience to really be with people. And I'm sure a lot of people on this podcast have that feeling when you're really connected and really in alignment with that other person, almost as if you could imagine what their thoughts are. Or when you love your child, it's just there. There's this other quality that we have. So I have in the last probably 15 years paired more of the neuroscience with the energy work. Joe Dispenza, Rick Hansen,
Mhm.
there's lots of research out there for how to impact your thought process. Um, and that the thoughts have a profound impact on our physical body. So, something simple like tapping, if you have a negative thought, like, oh, I did that stupid thing, your body is listening to you.
And
It's
it
listening to
repeats.
everything
Yes.
and it stores everything. And so, how do we um, start to break the habit, Joe Dispenza would say, of being ourselves, or, the what we've experienced from the past and trauma, and to really get how we're programmed and how to impact that programming and actually be human in a way that
Mhm.
gives us tools to be human, um, and navigate the waves of feeling and experiences and conflict. To be human, it's a big game to be human. There's
Yeah.
a lot to do. And we're not trained how to be human. There's no classes. We don't
No,
take
there's
any
not.
classes. There's
You
not
told me
classes.
once and I'll never forget, you said, "We're just a bunch of brains walking around in skin suits trying to figure this thing out." And I'm like, "You're right, we are just a bunch of brains," right? Bumping around trying to figure this thing out. But I'm so interested because you had your career, you had your children, and then you just kept learning and diving deeper and deeper and deeper into the work. So, what was the moment, if you remember, when you first realized this wasn't just a personal interest or a hobby, but rather a calling to help others?
Well, uh, the spiritual component of really being with people in their trauma, through their divorces, through their losses, um, that opens you up i- in a different way. Um, And, especially my male clients, they're so grateful to me because I get to cry with them. That it's not just that I'm talking to them, I'm really there with them in the experience of being human. And that fuels a sense of compassion and generosity. That exchange, when you when my clients trust me, I take that really seriously. And, I start to cry a little bit because um, that brings me such gratitude for being able to be influential in people's lives during their most challenging times and celebrating their most significant achievements and watching people transform to and go into those places that they're afraid to go into, but have a partner and going inside of there. It's so rewarding for me.
Yeah.
So I can't stop. I don't wanna
Yeah.
stop. I love my clients. I love my people, and then t as much learning as I can do, as I do lots of my own, work, because I don't think that you can take people further than where you've gone yourself.
Right.
Um, and, so I just feel so committed, and I feel so blessed by my clients that we get to partner in this way.
Right. And you've worked with hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of people over the years. So, what kinds of transformations do you most often see when people to begin to move their old energy out and disrupt that old programming?
Well, I think that the thing that triggers people is being able to see how their past is related to what's happening in their bodies right now today. And that I have people write out a timeline of their life. And when you look through that and when they do that, they see patterns like, this happened in childhood and it's happening today. It feels like we're in 40, the, yeah, like the 41st dates. And when
Yeah,
people
right.
start to be aware, and awareness is the key, like you have to look. So I have a little exercise for people. They do a tally of their thoughts. And so many of our thoughts are negative about ourselves, about the world. We have all these judgments and opinions. It's all over the place. But once you start to notice that that's happening, that there's this program inside of you that's happening, like then you have a way, then there's an opening. And I guess the other thing that I remember reading a book, and gosh, I tried to find for the podcast, I tried to find the book, but that we have different areas in our brains that are wired to do different things. And we have a part of our brain that's wired for resiliency. And I think that that is so important, that that form of resiliency can be influenced. Our brains are there to actually help us once we can understand the way that they're programmed. And the way that they're programmed doesn't feel very helpful a lot of the time. But there's this great hope and this great opening that we can change. We're wired to change, and we need support in our capacity to do that.
So I I love this. And, people that might not be experienced with Reiki or energy work, what does that look like when you're helping people, reconnect with themselves, right? So if they've spent years being stuck in fight or flight or going through life just automatically or feeling disconnected from their bodies or the world around them, what are some other things that you do with them?
So, my capacity to pull in a higher energy field simultaneously with talking to people, on Zoom or FaceTime, or even over the phone, because I'm totally remote now, since the pandemic. But that capacity for me to pull that energy in and hold the space for them to have their feelings, to cry, to scratch the surface of their trauma without having them go into the trauma again. Um, that's a unique ability that I have. I think all of us have that to some extent. Um, and I've just been like, I just like I can't stop because it's so interesting and it's so fascinating and it's so productive. So I wouldn't I even though I have very unique abilities, because I think our brain has really unique abilities when we get some of the negative thoughts and some of those experiences out of the way. But my capacity to feel almost the blueprint of somebody else's experience energetically allows me to start to release that energy. Sometimes I'll cry, sometimes I cough, oftentimes I'll feel that in my body, and I'm able to kind of push that out. And that sounds really strange. Um, and the feedback from people is that they feel better, even if I'm not in person with them, because there's only one energy field and we're all in it.
Yeah. Yeah, you've also used the phrase before, creating new neural pathways, right? So what does that look like for your clients, and how can listeners start doing that in small ways?
Well, understanding, I mean, the important thing that I want people to get from today is that we have a brain, and inside of our brain is an amygdala, and it goes off all the time. And so to be human means that we're going to have big feelings. We're going to have feelings that we don't know how to manage. We're going to overreact, and um, the easiest way for people to be with that is to actually do what I call just a little bilateral stimulation.
Oh, I
So
love
it's just
that.
tapping on the outside of your thighs, but because I'm not standing up, any bilateral stimulation, our brains are bilateral. So when you have bilateral stimulation and you breathe, because what happens when we get really upset or we get surprised, we stop breathing. Like we just we just go in. So if you can breathe and for 90 seconds, you can keep tapping, your body will calm down. That is built inside of you, but you have to act, you have to take responsibility for that. Otherwise, you're just going to loop around and around and around and around because that's how our brain is. It's wired to remember everything from the past and then try to predict what's going to happen in the future. But who wants more of their past?
Right.
Like, we
That's
already
just
did it
like
that way.
Groundhog Day. Please don't.
Yeah,
Right.
we already did it that way. So noticing, right?
Okay.
Tapping on your body, being aware that you really are human with a human brain, and that brain has the capacity to change. And that but the neural pathways are like you have to practice it over and over, breathing and tapping. And the other part that I really get so excited about is the I am statements. So when you say I am safe or I am loved. And one of my favorite ones with my clients is I am important because we
Wow.
don't feel like we're important. Somehow we've missed out or somebody didn't see us or recognize us or listen to us. But I am important. So you can tell yourself that you're important and your body hears that and goes, yeah, like it gets stronger. And when you tell yourself you're stupid, it's like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
these are tangible ways to strengthen your wellness, strengthen your body, strengthen your mind, and give yourself that space because your brain has the capacity to be rewired. And it takes, it takes noticing where you're at and then practicing the I am statements or the tapping. So that would be a really short session. But
Let me tell you, right before, we started our call together, I had a call with someone who said, "I'm just a plebe. I would so and so wanna talk to me," and I was like, "No." And it's interesting to see people even having a hard time saying, "I am important. I am worthy. I am divine peace. I am creative." What advice do you give to folks who that even seems like a big leap?
Well, I hold them close. I come up really close and to say,
Oh, yeah.
I'm here. Like, I get it. Like, I've been there. I do that even at times now. Like, I slip off the slippery slope.
We're
But
spiraling. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
right down that hole where there's no cheese, and it's just a hole. And that's part of being human. I reassure people that there's nothing wrong with them. That they can align in a new way. There's, you know,
Wow. Well, at least
and people cry when I tell them that. They really do. It's like the first time they've ever heard, there's like, "You're okay." And there's things to learn.
and that's okay. We're all learning.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
are all learning.
Wow. Now, Lisa, you've been doing this for over 20 years. And how has your understanding of healing evolved as both a practitioner and a human?
Well, it's a wild ride. And I guess the evolution of the MRI and so many books that have come out that are able to really show what happens on the brain scans of what's happening in the brain. That's really changed for me. At first, I started and I had this capacity to, move energy and feel energy, and people felt better after they left. But that was one dimension. So I just have continued to add the dimensions and figuring out over time the small little tools. I used to give people gum, like 2 different packs of gum. And like, okay, when you're in a negative thought about who you are, chew this gum that you don't like. And if when you're going to be negative, like I just haven't ever, like tangible things. We need tangible things because we forget that we're
Right.
important. We forget that we're having a human experience. So I think that it's just been so fun and rewarding to go back and forth. I usually have a rock from Lake Michigan. I'll write on, like, I am important. And I have clients 15 years later, they still have those rocks.
Still have my rock
They do.
on my
So,
nightstand. It says, I am peace.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's just,
So
and I've evolved as a person. I've evolved in my confidence about being able to be supportive and helpful. I've evolved, in, my children getting married. I have 5 grandchildren and being able to, be in love with the people that I love, in love with the people that I work with. Um, that changes me on a every session. It changes me to be able to be included in people's
wow.
lives and their on their team, right? Partnering with people.
You are the most present person I have ever met in my whole entire life, consistently throughout. And that's something I feel like I've learned from you is how to be present in the moment. And I work at that every single day. And so you have been a mentor to me as a coach. And when I'm working with people, how do you, maybe that, what does it mean to you to help grow that next generation of healers and leaders and coaches and humans?
That's such a great question. And I'm 65 and I I'm really up to, especially this next year, how do I leave a legacy? How do I train as many people as I can to carry on the work that I've started? And and that makes me look back at the 26 years. It makes me reflect on where I've come, what I've learned, the techniques that I've identified that work for people, and getting that into a format that is transferable to other practitioners, um, to support them and mentor them in ways, when we're dealing with energy that we can't see that energy. w- w- we can't, you know, we can't. So how do you support people that are interested in energy therapy to be confident in kind of the unknown, because really the future is unknown, and how do we create a future that we really want to have? And the other thing, in my community, I'm a founding member of a well-being collective. More of these s- techniques, gum and tallying
Yeah.
and tapping, can get out into the mainstream so that people have access to it, because that would be the greatest tribute to me as a practitioner, to have people be able to use things in a way that calms their body, has them feel more powerful, more present, and more capable of being human.
Wow. And it's so applicable across all areas of life, right? So, what advice would you give to someone who feels called to take a next step into a big life change, but might be afraid to leave the comfort of what they know into the great unknown and create a new future?
Well, that's a big task, isn't it? To jump off the end of the diving board. I guess how I would relate that to the brain, that we are wired to take on new challenges. We're wired to do that. We're called to do that. We're called to be bigger than we feel like we are. And you're going to have that feeling like, oh, who am I? Or I can't, or I don't know how. And that's okay. You just listen to that, write it down. And then you say, I can, I am capable. The I am statements are going to lead you um, further down that, that
Yeah.
path.
Yeah, because it's already true if we say it's true.
It is.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, so you're blowing my mind every single time. So what does unmuting yourself look like in your life today?
Well, certainly being on this
So
podcast,
fun.
right? Not hiding from, I do energy work and I do some very unique things, and I'm kind of strange. Oh,
Which
I'm
is
highly
so fun.
sensitive. I'm
Yes.
highly sensitive. And so I think that, one of the things that I've had to deal with in my own um, journey is I can, and I get to decide that I'm going to. I
Right.
get to step out and do things that I'm not comfortable with, that I don't know how to do, and that I'm going to get it way further than if I, sit in my I can't do it,
Because you
or
can.
because I can.
Right.
Yeah. Like there's a big, big world out there. There's lots of opportunities and we can actually create those opportunities. And we have to support our, support our thought process so that those possibilities have a chance of actually being seen and heard and delivered in our lives, with our families, in our communities, in the world. It ripples.
It feels like the whole world just opened up, Lisa. Yeah. Time is flying, and it's already time for quick fire questions. We're just having a good old conversation. Okay, so just answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay, what's a bold idea you've had recently that scares you just enough to try it?
Really blowing up my business.
Oh
That scares me, but, I want it available to the I want it available to as many people as possible, so I have to do something different than the way I've been doing it.
my gosh, it's so exciting. Okay, if you could unmute one topic people aren't talking about enough, what would it be?
Grief.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. What's one small daily habit that's had a big impact on your mindset?
The I am statements. I am in the morning, I create them all over the place. If I forget them in the middle of the day, I start over again. The I am statements are the direct link to the quantum field, to all the possibilities in the world, so I practice that diligently.
Wow. Okay, if listeners could take one action, not just an idea, after hearing this, what should it be?
Tapping. When they have a negative thought about who they are, tap it away and then say, I am important.
I am important.
Important, right?
Okay.
Tap it away, grab it. No, we're not doing that. And like you throw it out the door.
Okay.
I am important.
Be gone. Not today. Okay. And then what's one word that captures who you're becoming right now?
Effervescent.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. I love this because I just never know what people are going to say. Okay. Well, Lisa, this has been such a powerful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom. Before we wrap, I do have a couple of final questions. So, if listeners walk away from this conversation just remembering one thing, what do you hope it is?
That they're loved.
And on a more personal note, what has it meant for you to share your story here on Unmute Yourself today?
Oh, I feel such a sense of honor, um, to be invited, to be listened to, for you to have taken time to read my bio and ask me about my life and my work. And it really gives me courage and confidence to kind of keep going. So thank you so much for that for the generosity of who you are and the work that you're doing. And I think unmuting yourself is spectacular.
Here we go. And it's because of you. You've created this. Lisa, how can listeners connect with you and support your work?
So they can go to my website, Lisa at lisawlee.com. I'm on Instagram under that name, or International Wellness Partners.
That's great. Wonderful.
Mhm.
Well, I'm sure that you're going to have a lot of inquiries after this, and I must say thank you so much for sharing your story today. And thank you to everyone listening for tuning in to Unmute Yourself. And if today's conversation inspired you, please share this episode, subscribe, like, follow, and stay tuned for more stories of leaders creating work that truly fits and matters. Until next time, unmute yourself and step into the story only you can tell.